Hey Star Trekkers, what's up? UltimatDjz here, and hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday if you are in a nation that celebrates it. And for everybody else, well, we hope you got to eat some good food this weekend, all right? Today, we have something very special on tap for you. We are going to dispel the rumors of the Underdeck officer myth. Well, what do you mean, DJ? I mean that I'm going to show you what they do, what they don't do, and how they should be utilized. So, let's begin. First though, please like the video, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and be sure to comment in the section below if you have questions, because we're going to get super nerdy here, everybody. Let's get it going. First, let's start with the stat points required to max your bonuses, all right? Here we go. What we're going to do is we're going to hop into the game here very quickly, and I'm going to change ships. First of all, let's start with the level 26 ship. Everybody should have one of those. Let's pull up the Mayflower here. All right, and the first thing we're going to check is the number of stat points needed to max these bonuses over here. Here are the stat points required to max these bonuses. Now, you can ignore the 100% here. About a year, maybe even... Actually, I guess it was about a year, about combat update time. They actually tripled all these figures. So now you can see here on the display, we're getting 300%, but even though the chart still says 100%. This is 3,600 stat points needed for a 300% bonus, all right? What we are wanting to get here are our baseline figures. For example, on a level 26 ship, it is 3,600 points. Let's go to a level 28 ship. That would be like a Saladin, okay? Saladin, Centurion, and Bortus. And we're going to come over here and we're going to see now we need 4,200 stat points, okay? A little bit more on a rare ship. That's an Ops 32 ship. Let's take a look here at the Burrell and take a look at the stat points needed here. This is 6,000 stat points. And then, of course, we come up to the epic ships. That is your Enterprise, your Augur, and your D4. They require 9,000 points to max out. And let's go one step further. Let's take a look at the ISS Jellyfish. That's your first G4 common. Or G4 ship, rather, and you can see here it requires 15,000. A nice big jump there. 15,000 stat points to get to the 300% bonus. And actually, in this case, looks like it could be even more. And we got here definitely a data mismatch. Going to have to see what happens here when we can max these out. Of course, as you can see, I don't have the underdog slots unlocked for this ship yet because it is only a baby jelly. It's tier 1 and only level 5, but this indicates that these stat bonuses could go higher. This follows the pattern of potentially maybe about a 350% stat bonus could be the max, and we will take a look at that a little bit later on and show you. But for a lot of you, this is not a huge thing. These stat levels are not a whole lot. But if, for example, if you're limited on player slots, as you can see where I'm at right here, it's a tough thing to get there. But long story short, I want to go back to the Mayflower, and let's start here because I want to demonstrate a couple of things, all right, about these stat points. So we're going to take a look at the Mayflower. What does the stat bonus of 300% do? Well, for each category, we're going to come over here into the details, and we can see here, officer attack bonus. All right, in each category, this is what it is actually doing. It changes the statistics of the ship, folks, and those stats only. It does not change, for example, if I have 9K or 90K, as long as I'm hitting the stat bonuses, then it only changes the bonus level, which affects the ship's stats by that bonus only. So, for example, you can see here we've got the 300%, and these are our statistics, okay? Now, if I were to come in here and say, for example, remove all of these officers, okay, so that you can see, well, okay, we need to remove a few more. So now that we're starting to get down and below here, the 300% bonus, if we come back in here, we see all of these figures change. DPR has changed. The penetration figures have changed. We come down here to defense. Well, I still got the 300% defense, so that's good. But down here under health, all right, shield health and hull health are changed because of this percentage. So what I want to do here is I actually want to show you how this can change and how these stats are going to change. So let's go back in here and start putting some of these officers back, okay? I'm going to put Kirk down here. I believe we had Khan up north. And sounds like we probably had Decius up there, or like Decius up there. I don't remember who all we had on the lower deck. I know we definitely had Spock. That makes sense because he's a defense officer. Let's just, you know what, let's just throw a couple in here, okay? It doesn't really matter right now. I want to demonstrate. Now, if we go back to, we're at the 300%. So if we go back and check these details again, now here we see, for example, our DPR higher because now we're at the 300%. All of these statistics of the ship have been modified because it's not the officer stats that do it, but this bonus right here. And it's changing the ship stats. Where do these stats come from? Well, folks, these stats come from the weapons and the upgrades that you have already done on this ship. All right, so if you are modifying the percentage bonus, then you are getting higher bonuses and therefore higher stats. But it is not the officers per se that is actually doing that. Now, of course, notice if I'm at 300% and I remove a couple of these officers, if I stay within my 300% and we come back out, notice that the ship power stays the same. The bonuses are still the same. There's 300%, still a 161,000 DPR, still 300% here and 53,984. Let's remove one more officer here. All right, come back out. You can see we still have our 300%. Guess what? Ship power is still the same because the ship power is calculated based off of these bonuses and the ship statistics. Over here, 53,984, 161 DPR. Nothing has changed. If I remove all of the underdeck officers, get them all out of there, okay? We are still at our 300%. Ship power never changes. Okay, nothing changes here. So the ability of the ship itself remains static if we have the 300% bonus. That's why everyone will always say that's the most important thing to get. None of these figures change with the stat bonus. The stat bonus changes inside the bracket. If I increase the bonus, then the ship stats change. If I exceed the bonus, though, as you can see, it doesn't change anything with the stats at all as far as the ship goes. Now, to my earlier point, here's where stats do come into play. There's a couple of scenarios. First, if you're using stat-based officers for buffs, like Marcus, okay, like Spock, and there's a Charvenek, there's a couple of others. There's many officers in the game that will allow you to use stats to actually change their ability, to actually give the stats a meaning when the officers have an ability to use with them. For example, Marcus here is going to increase the shield piercing of the ship by 1,600% of the total defense of the crew of the ship. Other officers are going to impact some type of damage or mitigation or even reduction to your opponent. In these cases, then yes, stack for that purpose. For example, if I'm using Marcus here and Khan and Decius, like we were just looking at here a second ago, Marcus feeding off of defense, I only need 9,000 on attack and 9,000 on health. But defense, I want to stack as high as I can get. So let's go back in and let's tinker for a second. I'm going to come back over here. We're going to switch back out to the Enterprise and let's now begin stacking up here. We want to find the best combination for the maximum defense. You can see here, I'm automatically going to get attack. I'm automatically going to get health. So I want to find the officers with the highest set of defense. Here's a decent one. She's got good attack, but her defense is all right there at base, so we're going to throw her in there. Of course, we know Spock is a defensive officer. Take a look there, loaded with defense. And these are base figures, by the way, because they're in my carousel and not on a ship. So you might say, well, DJ, you still don't have health. Well, I still got 2 more slots. Just by focusing on the officers who have high defense, Mara not being one of those. All right, let's take a look at Krell. Nope. Chang. Let's see what Chang does. Okay, don't really like that there. Zetbor. Oh, see, now that's actually a really good one. That's her highest category, 731. So let's throw her in there. See what else we got here. Vemet, pretty good on defense, healthy on health as well. Let's see if we've got anybody else that can do a little bit better on defense. Because that's what I want to do. I want to find the best defensive officers I can. I want to stack up defense in such a way that it gives me... Ooh, there we go. Hey, what's up, Gary Mitchell? We make a lot of fun of you when you come around in those packs. But let's throw Gary Mitchell in there. So now you can see at 25,744, just by focusing on defense here, I natively got my bonus for attack and I natively get it for health. Because all I need is 9,000. It doesn't matter. I'm stacking for defense because I want the maximum benefit from Marcus's ability. Now, the second scenario that I was talking about a minute ago is to make sure that you've got a little bit of buffer. There are some officers out there that can reduce your stats if your opponent is using them. So, for example, let's go back into our officer carousel here just for a second, and I want to show you one or two of these officers. Crass is one. Let me see if I can find him real quick. Here's Crass right now, taking a look at his officer ability. Decreasing attack, defense, and health of all of the officers on the bridge of the opponent's ship by 50%. Now, that sounds like it's a pretty big deal. Some officers have conditions, other officers like Crass just do it automatically. Now, let's say your opponent is using Crass. If you're right at the 9,000 and they reduce your stats and you fall below the bonus threshold, you can be impacted. However, in my case from earlier, just stacking the defense category is actually going to give me a pretty decent little layer here. However, take a look. If I were to lose 50%, I would fall below the 9,000 mark. So you're going to want a decent buffer there to make sure that other officer procs are not going to drop your bonus level, because that is actually what impacts the ship's statistics and the ship's damage, or mitigation and power, etc. Fortunately though, from what we've seen in the game, a lot of these officers are not wildly used. Let's take a look at one more. We'll scroll down here and I'm going to see if I can find Quag. Quag is an officer in the game who also reduces stats. If I can find him, I know here he is right here. So Quag, ooh, nice graphic there. Quag, when the ship gets a hull breach from the opponent, that's not even the right one, it's his captain's ability. When the ship gets a hull breach from the opponent, he's going to decrease all the stats of the officers on my entire ship, not just the bridge, but all of my officers by 35%. That's significant because if he takes me below a bonus, then I'm going to lose statistical power. So I want to find a decent buffer in both health and attack. If my opponent is using Crass, as we just discovered a second ago, I don't have enough to overcome it in either attack or health. So I may want to potentially look at beefing those stats up a little bit. However, the chances of me being attacked with Crass are relatively low, so I'm going to stick with what I've got right here. Now, for example, shout out to JB from Server 15. What's up, buddy? Take a look at these stats. 48,000 to defense, 16,000 to attack, and 20,000 to health. If another officer came in like Crass and was to reduce these statistics, it would have to be a major reduction to the stats to have any impact at all on JB. Remember, as long as the 300% bonus is there, stats do nothing else unless you're using a stat-based officer. And then the impact would be nominal. For example, if someone's able to reduce my stats by using Crass, who decrease the attack, defense, and health of all of my bridge officers by 50%. Now let's say that reduces my defense in particular by, say, 2,000 stat points because of the values that it's using there. Then take that 2,000 stat reduction. That's going to affect my Marcus, whose ability is 1,600% to shield piercing. That is going to reduce my shield piercing ability by 32,000 points. That could have an impact on my opponent's mitigation. Well, DJ, you're saying, how do you actually calculate mitigation? Well, you can't. Not on your own anyway. Shout out Quirky Zombie. Let's take a look at a tool he has and let's run a scenario. Bring you over here and show you a website, and I'm going to enter in some statistics. Now, these statistics for the attacker, that's based on my enterprise. If I actually come over here and show you right there, that's my attack, 12,000, 13,000, and 18,000. Come back to the browser and we entered those in. And then for the defender, I'm just going to, again, for simplicity, I'm going to use the same statistics as what I'm using. If I come over here to defense, let me switch back over and show you here. If I go to my defense, then I'm going to enter those statistics in 142, 488, 4419, so forth and so on. Of course, it's a ship type Explorer. So now you can see that if my Enterprise was battling an exact duplicate of my Enterprise, and then the mitigation of the defender, okay, the mitigation that is going to, the amount of my shot that's going to evaporate into space, it's 59%. That's relatively high. Now let's pretend for a second that somebody is going to use Crass to lower my statistics to reduce my mitigation. Well, it's already really high, and I don't want that to get any worse, so we're going to do what we can to beef up the stats. So let's take a look at running a couple of tests. I want to show you a couple of different things here, and we're going to come back into, here we go. I'm going to show you a couple of crew loadouts that I used earlier, okay? So let's start with this scenario right here. Just a basic Kirk Con Decius, nothing there is impacting stats, and before you say so, I completely understand Kirk does impact stats. However, he only increases them during morale. I already have my 300%, so increasing them any more is not going to necessarily be a big deal. It's not changing my mitigation in any way, shape, or form, and as you can see, actually a moment ago we built a better defense platform, but here's the crew that I had loaded up earlier when I ran this test. 22,000 defense. Hey, looks like I built up my attack a little bit. That's a little bit better, so 21,000 there, but again, you know, if we were going to focus on defense, which I'll show you in a second, then that's what we're going to do. Now, let's take a look at this PvP showdown that we did a second ago. We're going to use this scenario. Let's take a look at some of this data. Here is the actual battle log, or the scan we did. Shout out Corat. Thank you very much for volunteering to be my guinea pig today. Here was the scan. You can see he's got about 600,000 on me with his Enterprise that's a higher tier than mine, and we ran the exact same crew. Taking a look at some of the stats here, you can see his is tier 8, mine's tier 7, level 40 versus 35, and here are the attack, defense, and health of the ship. All right, this is using the crew stat bonuses that are already on, and obviously, presumably, he's got a 300% bonus as well. As a matter of fact, there we can see if we're comparing the attack to the attack. Now, why is my DPR lower than his? Because he's got extra components, all right? His ship statistics are higher than mine because his ship is more upgraded than mine. The attack bonus is still 300%, so that is staying the same. He just has higher stats because his ship has more components. Going to the next screenshot here, we can absolutely see defense there, still both 300%, but he's got some extra bonus stats on me there. Going on over to health, same thing, all right? These are rounded figures. I hate that they're rounded. We can't demonstrate the difference, but 2 million, 1 million for me, 2 million, 2 million for him. That doesn't mean that he's doubled mine. These are just terrible rounding errors, okay? So absolutely terrible rounding there, but you get the idea. Now, this is what matters. If we were going to go over here to Quirky's website, all right, and let's do this very quickly now. We're going to go to the website. We're going to enter in these figures, 12, 13, and 188 for me. All right, that is going to be mine. So 12, 13, 188. Oh, I already have that in there. And then we're going to come back over here to his display, and he has 4985. 154, 107, and 4362 for his defense. All right, so let's go back over here to the browser and let's enter those in. Again, it was 4985. Also, he had 154, 107, and his dodge was 4362. And obviously the Enterprise is an Explorer. Now this means, based off this information right here, based off these stats, that he is going to mitigate 59.0711% of the attack that I throw at him, all right? So let's check this out. We want to check the math, all right? Let's go back to the gameplay. Actually, let me take that back. We're going to go back over here to the images, and let's take a look at the battle log that we did here, all right? Now, obviously, first time I went against him, I did lose. You can see he still had probably 35, 40, maybe 45% of his hull. Let's take a look at some of the battle logs here. Now, 87, 380. I'm not going to pull up a calculator, but I am just going to tell you, we'll show you that should have, if I do the calculator, basically what I'm doing is 87, 380 divided by the total attack that was issued. All right, so 87,380 is the amount that I mitigated. I issued 147,766, and that is 59.13%. Going back over here to Quirky Zombie's website, we're pretty daggone close, 59.13 to 59.07. He said that the results should be accurate to within about 1%, so I'm good with that. He's actually much closer. He's like within 0.04%. That's very, very good. Now, let's go back to my storytelling, all right, and take a look at the next set of images here that we've got, because we did not stop there. I decided to reduce the lower decks completely, got rid of all the lower decks down to the 300%. I still wanted to maintain the 300% because I'm trying to prove a point, all right? We got rid of all those extra stats. Now, what did we do? We took a look here. These statistics never changed, okay? Here's, for example, here's attack with the full lower deck, and I'm sorry I did this a little bit out of order. Attack with full lower deck, attack with just the 10 of 10 officer, okay? There we go. That's the first one. There's the second one. Let's take a look at defense. All right, defense with the full lower deck, a 41, 421 shield in enhancement. Defense. There's defense when we took everything off except for 10 of 10. Okay, and let's take a look at health here, okay? 625,000 and 761,000 hull health and shield health respectively with a full lower deck, and then removing everything except for 10 of 10. Took me to the exact same figures. Guys, again, proof positive that the lower decks don't matter if you're just using it for stat bonus, okay? The only time they matter is if you're going to use an officer-based stat. So let's take a look here. This is what we were running with. And I changed it around. So a minute ago, we had the full lower deck, but we had Kirk up top. I'm going to move Marcus up top because Marcus's ability is to increase shield piercing. In theory, this should help me a great deal against other explorers. Now let's take a look at this battle log. Now all of a sudden, he beat me with 40% hull remaining to I beat him with about 25% hull remaining. Let's take a look. These statistics stayed the same. These are the ship statistics. So this screen did not change. But if we come into, and that's a different ship, but it looks like I didn't even go into the battle log. You know what? I still have that battle log. So let's go into the actual game, and I'll find the battle log for you because I still have it. Here it is right here. This is the one that we were just looking at, the one that we just won, okay? Here it is. You can see everything looks the same, ship statistics the same. All right, coming over here to the attack and coming over here to the defense as we just demonstrated, nothing changed, all right? Coming into the battle log, and I thought I had a screenshot, I'm sorry. I see that Marcus procced 1,600% of the crew's defense to shield piercing. That is increasing my mitigation. Take a look at this first shot, okay? A minute ago, he was mitigating 59% of my damage. This time, we take the 27,805, divide that by 144,629. He's only mitigating 19.2%. 19.2%. That's a vast difference. And that's going to be every shot. The entire battle, folks. That's not per round. That's not, you know, only if he does this. That is the entire round, the entire battle. I've dropped his mitigation 40 percentage points, okay? That's massive, and that's the effect of Marcus. Now, we did a couple of other tests. Let me show you these very quickly. And here we go. Okay, so we went and we decided to test the same thing against the Augur, okay? I put Kirk back onto the bridge, and you can see here, actually, I got lucky. I probably shouldn't have actually won that one. Might have gotten lucky with Con and some criticals or something like that, but here are the statistics, and this is what I want to show you. This is what's crazy, okay? Let's go back to Quirky Zombie's website and enter in these new figures, all right? So if I'm taking a look here, my armor piercing is 12,000, 13,000, and 188,000. Oh, of course, they're staying the same because it's my enterprise, but we're going to change his armor is 163,000. All right. Shield deflection is... Oh, and I forgot to change you back over to the browser. Sorry about that. Shield deflection for his is 4108. So let's punch that in, 4108, and then the dodge is 4694, okay? But now we also are changing the ship type here. This is a battleship. Now watch what happens with the mitigation. This is the effect of the battle triangle. When I change that to a battleship, boom, we jump back right back up. He is mitigating 50, almost 59% of my shots, all right? Let's go back into the battle logs that we were looking at here. All right, we take a look. Now, I ran the second battle, okay? The second battle where I put Marcus back onto the bridge, just like we did against the Enterprise that we fought just a moment ago. And I lost this time. Now, that could be arguably because of some crits. Really, mathematically, there was no major reason that I would have lost unless Kirk didn't give me the morale that I needed early enough. But I come in here and I notice that shield piercing is what I would get with Admiral Marcus. Well, shield deflection is not the major defense of the Augur. It's armor, so I would need armor piercing, and that is not what Admiral Marcus does, giving, for example, his ability being relatively worthless against Augurs. Okay, let's continue on here, and I want to get back to showing you some of the stats on Quirky's website. All right, so now we're back on this mitigation calculator, and what I want to actually show you, and I put the stats back to when I was fighting Corat, Enterprise versus Enterprise. Why was there such a huge difference? Well, let's go back and take a look again at that lower deck. So I'm going to bring you back over here, and I'm going to show you the lower deck that we actually ended up using. This was it, 25,192 points. That's what we used to feed Admiral Marcus. His ability is a 1,600% increase to shield piercing based on the defensive stats. So if I take 25 16,192 and divide that by, or multiply that rather, by 1,600%. That is a boost of 403,072 stat points. So let's go back over here to our Quirky Zombie display. Thank you very much. And we're going to take this figure, we're going to take the shield piercing and add that on top. So the 403,072, add 13,000 roughly to that, and that becomes 416,072. That's what I got to add. So let's update this. 416,072. We saw the mitigation was at 59%, 072, and boom, the mitigation dropping all the way to 22%. We talked about this a minute ago, being active, being absolutely accurate, and seeing what the difference could be when I increase that shield piercing and then take a look at his shield deflection. When I can overcome that, that's going to drop that mitigation in such a huge way. So there you go, folks. Mind blown. And now you know, is there a benefit to overstacking? Absolutely there is. In cases that opponents are using stat cards against you, or you're using a stat-based ability, but it doesn't change the stats of the ship above 300%. However, you can see the absolute benefits right here when we're taking a look at this battle log at the differences in mitigation based on an officer that is using those stats. Now, can anyone see the benefits in a prime officer, for example, with this scenario? With Marcus and other stat abilities officers like Char and Spock and several others, not only does it help you get to the 300% bonus faster and provides larger buffs towards the abilities of those officers, reinforcing why prime officers needs to continue to be a focus if you don't have it yet or are trying to grind it out free to play. Super interested in answering your questions, ladies and gents. Leave them in the comment section below. Please like the video, subscribe, and share it with everybody, because underdeck officers are wildly important, and these abilities to stack and feed officers are really important. However, if you're not using a stat-fed officer and you've got an officer on the lower deck that you want to use on the bridge of another ship, you can do so and not be hurt. For example, if we moved Kirk up here and we needed to use Spock on a different ship, and I wanted to use Marcus on a different ship, and I wanted to use Gary Mitchell on a different ship, oh nope, can't take Gary off there because that dropped me to 270 right there. But I could throw anybody back in there, and now I'm at 300%. This scenario right here is completely okay because he is not doing anything that changes the mitigation or anything like that. Let's look again. He's inspiring morale, that's fine, and he is doing a boost to their stats during morale, but again, does not matter as long as I'm over the 300%. All right, taking a look here at Khan. Nope, he doesn't do anything. He's just increasing crit chances. And over here at Decius, he's just increasing damage. Nothing is based on stats. So this setup right here, notice my ship power at 3.855. Let's go out and discard these changes. Guess what? Still 3.855 because nothing changed. All right, the stat bonuses stayed the same. So if I want to get these officers out of here, put this up here, want to drop him, and right there, if we wanted to run that way, my ship is going to perform the exact same way. Mind blown. Comment down below. Like I said, like it, share it, and now you know the power and the subtlety, the strategy of the lower deck. My name is UltimatDjz with another teaching Trek video on the underdeck myth, the legends that are the lower decks officers. Till next time, see you later. Love you, mean it. Bye-bye.